Welcome back, friends. So up until this point, we've selected an element and then we added an event listener click to that element. And then we write the function that needs to be called when this event happens. Up until now, we've always created anonymous functions here as the second argument. So we say that when this element is clicked, call this function. That's pretty much it. But we don't have to write this function always. I can define a separate function, and then I can call it here. So first, we're going to see the syntax, and then we're going to talk about the pros and cons of this approach. So I'll go to the HTML file, and in the HTML file that I created a class named toggle background. Now, all I want to do here is toggle this paragraph that has an ID of oak paragraph. So I want to add and remove this toggle background class to this paragraph when I click it. All right. Okay, so let's go to script.js. And here, first we need to select, just like always, I'll say var oak paragraph equal to document.querySelector # oak paragraph. Then I'm going to create a function here. So I'll say function toggle background, and inside of it, I want to toggle the class list of this oak paragraph. So for that, I'll say oak paragraph.classList.toggle, and inside of it, I want to toggle this class. So I copy this and paste it here. All right, so now I have a function that toggles this oak paragraph with this class. And I want to call this function when I click on the oak paragraph. So here I'll say oak paragraph dot add event listener, click, and then when I click, I want to call this toggle background function. So I just write toggle background here. All right, so now let's save all this, go to the console, refresh the page, and when I click the paragraph, boom, it toggles. Let's do it a couple of times. All right, see, it works. So let's return to the code. Now, I want to bring up a couple of very important points here. So as you can see, I just wrote the function name. I didn't call it with parentheses. Why is that? How can I do that? Well, because we call this toggle background function a callback function, right? So I say that I don't call this function immediately. And because of that, because I don't want to call it immediately, I don't put parentheses here. So I say, don't call this function when the page first loads up. Call this function just whenever I click this paragraph. And then to be able to call this function just when something happens, we don't put the parentheses here. Wow. So that's how you make this function a callback function. So I'll put parentheses here, and then I save this and go to the browser, refresh the page, and what do you see? As soon as we refresh the page, the function was called. It didn't wait for an event. Okay, so I'll go to the code again, and I want to call this function just when the paragraph is clicked. So I remove the parenthesis, and here I want to use this syntax, this anonymous function syntax generally. And when I do use this syntax, of course, we use this to avoid duplicating code. If we are going to make a similar function for two different elements, then we just create a function and call it as a callback in event listeners. All righty then. So in this lesson, we learned this new syntax for event listeners. And also we put some callback functions into practice. So why don't we take a quick pause and continue in the next section.